So hey Eric, some sad news, really sad news recently. Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys passed away. I believe he was already in his 80s, wasn't he? He was
Yeah,
up
I think it
there.
was 82.
Yeah. And I know he had been having some health problems for a number of years. Very sad to hear that. Um, I was I have been for a long time a big Beach Boys fan, a real admirer of Brian Wilson and his work. I assume you feel the same way.
Yeah, I wasn't a super huge Beach Boys fan, but I really kind of grew to respect Brian Wilson a lot, like throughout my life, I guess Good Vibrations was the song that really caught my attention first. Like, I remember first time I heard that song, I was just amazed at how great it was.
It is an amazing song. I mean, we could do an entire episode just on Good Vibrations. What an
Hmm.
incredible piece of music it is because it's more than just a song. It's kind of like in a class by itself as a piece of music. And I would argue that Good Vibrations is um, kind of epitomizes the spirit of the 1960s at that time because I believe it was released in 66 or 67. And
Hmm.
when it came out, it kind of captured the spirit of an era in a way, didn't it?
Yeah, I think it did. It
Yeah.
really did. But it was a lot different from some of their other music. I guess there when I was young, I didn't really appreciate the Beach Boys that much, but for some reason, um, I knew Good Vibrations was a Beach Boys song, but I just kind of thought of that as being like almost like a different band from like their earlier songs when they're singing about,
Help me, Rhonda.
girls and yeah, girls and surfing and cars and stuff like that. It's like that kind of stuff didn't appeal to me that much, but I do respect Brian Wilson as being like a great songwriter, you know,
Yeah.
and I respect the fact that he was kind of a perfectionist, like he would just put so much work into like writing his songs and getting everything just right. It's kind of similar to the way Beethoven wrote his symphonies.
Mhm.
Like I think they said Mozart's um, when Mozart wrote a piece of music, um, or the story I've heard anyway, is that Mozart would get a finished piece of music like a symphony or whatever, just fully formed in his head. Like, and he would just basically write it down. It like it would appear like in finished form in his head, and he's basically just transcribing it, and that's how he wrote music. But if you look at some of like Beethoven's manuscripts for some of his symphonies, you just see notes scratched out all over the place, and he was just like redoing stuff all over the place, and just I think he really pushed himself to just really make his music as good as possible, and that's kind of the same. I kind of feel the same way about Brian Wilson, that he was just that kind of perfectionism that drove him to make just write really good songs. I can respect that. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I think even but beyond that's part of I think what made him a great composer and musician. But the other part of it, I think, was his vision that he had a very ambitious vision about what he wanted his music to do that was way beyond the simple formulas that most people would expect from the pop music of that era. He wanted to structurally, I mean, like there's this one song he does. I saw, I think it's Rick Beato, who does these great music videos, was talking about how many key changes the song had. It starts, I believe it could be God Only Knows. I'll have to check, but it starts in
I,
one key, then it has a key shift to another key, and then goes to another key and another key.
yeah,
It's
I
really
think I
amazing.
saw that video just recently.
Yeah,
He's kind of breaking down all the chord changes and things, and it's really kind of gives you an appreciation for that song of how, you know, how innovative it was
Mhm.
and how different from other songs.
Yeah. It pushed the boundaries, or it pushed the structural limits of what people thought was possible for pop music at the time. And they were a massive influence on the Beatles as well. I know a lot of people reference the Pet Sounds album that came in 1966. That was around the same time the Beatles came out with Revolver. And
Mm.
I've read somewhere that there was quite a bit of interplay between the Beach Boys and the Beatles around this time, to where Paul McCartney especially was paying attention to what Brian Wilson was coming up with, and was always thinking about ways to uh, do one up on him, so to speak. That Pet Sounds came out, and evidently McCartney heard it and was like, um, wow, we're going to have to up our game if we're going to put out something that's on the level of Pet Sounds. And evidently that led uh, to what was it, the Magical Mystery Tour and
Sergeant Pepper's, wasn't
Sergeant
it?
Pepper's. Well, you have to think of those two together. And I know this is about Brian Wilson and not the Beatles, but you know, the Sergeant Pepper's and the Magical Mystery Tour material was all recorded in one project. And it's just that
Oh,
they took the stuff that they didn't put in Peppers and they put it in the Magical Mystery Tour. It was kind of like the stuff that didn't make the cut. I believe that's how
oh,
it
good.
worked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you can
Okay.
really kind of think of Magical Mystery Tour and Sergeant Pepper's as a double album, I guess, if you want.
Oh,
Yeah, and then you have the other stuff that came out. But we're getting into a Beatles discussion. Uh,
yeah.
like the Only a Northern Song, and I forget what that is on. That was actually from the same general musical project that just lumped in together. But around that, all that work from the Beatles was really, according to McCartney, was really uh, inspired in very large degree by Pet Sounds, and
Hmm.
which is an amazing album. There's some songs on there that don't get as much radio play, like Caroline No, really great song. You know the one I'm talking about?
I think so, yeah.
Caroline No. It's got a really, and there's one that's has a great bass line in it. Yeah, that's a different one. I can't remember the names of them, but it's a great album. It's got some
What
incredible
about
stuff.
In My Room? I know you like that one. What was that song on Pet Sounds? I can't remember.
No, I think it's from an earlier album, but yeah,
Okay.
in my room is maybe not the greatest Beach Boys song, but it's one of my personal favorites. Uh, it's just a,
I think it is one of their greatest
oh,
songs.
you do think so?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
And why is
definitely.
that? Yeah.
It I don't know. It just kind of blew me away, like especially the lyrics and the melody too. Just first time I heard that, I just thought, wow, that's I can relate so much with the sentiment in that song. Just wanting to have a place to go and just escape from the world. And it's
Yeah.
kind of got it's not a sad song really to me. It's kind of just kind of an emotional feeling to it, you know.
Yeah. That's what I think that's one of the things that really set him apart is he put a lot of feeling into his compositions. The lyrics are very heartfelt. There's a lot of sincerity. There's a lot of authenticity in it. Here's I think my favorite song from Pet Sounds though is probably "That's Not Me." You know that one?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. I had tried
I
to.
don't know that album. I don't know that album.
Yeah.
I don't know that album really well. I have heard it a couple of times, but
He goes.
I'm not a Beach Boys expert, you know.
I just love the lyrics. So he says, "I could try to be big in the eyes of the world. What matters to me is what I could be to just one girl." That's a really cool
Hmm.
line there. Um, yeah, I had to show my parents how independent I've grown, but that's not me. I went through all kinds of changes, took a look at myself, and said, "That's not me." I could try to be big in the eyes of the. I already said that, but it's just it's a. I love the lyrics on that song because he's talking about how he all this fame and stuff has not really changed as who he essentially is, and he still has hangups. I'm using the 1960s phrase, hangups. I don't think anybody talks that way anymore. Talk about having hangups.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was dealing with some insecurities in his life as a young man. It's strange to me when I hear that today. And you realize that Brian Wilson was in his early 20s when he did all this, and then he's like in his 80s and he's passed away, and um, it's weird because it's like the 60s doesn't seem that far away in a sense. In another sense, it does. I guess we're kind of coming to terms with the passing of the years and the passing of the decades.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but
I was gonna add a little funny
yeah,
comment about the Beach Boys, but I'm not sure how appropriate it is to this discussion. But I had a co-worker at a job I had back in the '90s.
mhm,
Um, I worked with this guy named Wayne, and he
mhm,
was like a Vietnam veteran. But the boss at this place, it was a sign shop. We just made little signs and things. But the boss there would keep the radio on the oldie station. And so they played a lot of Beach Boys songs, every once in a while. But Wayne did not like the Beach Boys. He would just go on and on about how much he hated the Beach Boys. And he was he said if me and my friends had ever met the Beach Boys on the beach, we would have kicked their butts.
yeah,
But he had this kind of just visceral dislike for the Beach Boys. But
yeah.
I could kind of relate to that a little bit because I didn't really care for some of the Beach Boys songs, but like over the years, I've had changed my opinion a lot about uh, their music and Brian Wilson in particular.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
think I think he had a lot more talent than I gave him credit for when I was young.
yeah. Well, even if let's go back to that bubblegum squeaky clean Beach Boys before Pet Sounds. I mean, when they get to Pet Sounds, then that's when they're starting to become psychedelic Beach Boys. But
Right? Yeah.
before that,
Exactly.
they're kind of like that's good music. Those kids can listen to that. That's okay by me. Doesn't offend anybody in our church.
But
But
yeah,
but
I kind of thought in the early days they kind of just they had this frat boy kind of vibe to me, like they were
mhm.
like I don't know, like just like some rich kids that got together and started like this vocal group or something. That's kind of the impression I had of them.
Yeah, there was some of that, maybe some appeal to that crowd of people, um, but I wanted to make a point. Even when you go back to that earlier era, I think you have little indicators of something more important than that. So it's this the song "Fun, Fun, Fun." So we'll
Yeah,
have fun, fun, fun when the daddy takes the T-bird away. And
yeah,
what got me about that is the way they sang the words fun, 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 because if you pay attention to those vocals really carefully, there's some really amazing counterpoint harmonies going in there with the vocals and just in that one.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's like you can call it a bubblegum song if you want, but the way they did the vocals was absolutely killer in that song.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah.
they do.
They could sing some really good harmonies too.
And
You got to.
when they did Help Me Rhonda, uh, that the way they do that Help Me Rhonda,
Oh
that build up
yeah,
there is
yeah.
intense. It's
That's a
really
great
well done.
song, actually.
Yeah, so there's little moments there are quite a few moments in their earlier material where you see these guys got something going on. There's some intense melodies and harmonization going on.
What about Dead Man's Curve? Was that a Beach Boys song?
I'm not sure.
Do
It
you
could have been.
remember? I remember the Carpenters did a version of that because my sister had an album with that. But
And they did a piece. Maybe we can end with this. They did a piece right after John F. Kennedy was assassinated. It's "Warmth of the Sun," and it's a beautiful little piece. It's got some really nice chord changes in it. Uh, what good is the dawn that breaks into day? But I really liked it. I forget when I was listening to it and I decided I was going to learn to play it on guitar and sing it. So I learned the chord changes and everything and was really blown away by the really interesting chord changes in that song. And I showed it to a jazz musician that I know here, and he actually incorporated it into his set. So that was something I was kind of proud of that I turned a really good jazz musician onto that, and he did it, "Warmth of the
oh
Sun."
well, yeah.
And it's a really nice song. I believe it was recorded in 1964 as a tribute to John F. Kennedy. So
What was the name of that?
Warmth of the Sun. Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, and if you're into analyzing music, looking at chord changes, I think you can really appreciate the chord changes there because he's in a particular key, but he has some chords in that song that break out of the key in interesting ways. He gets away with it. So I always like to see somebody who can kind of color outside the lines that way and make it work. It's
Hmm.
really interesting, yeah. But
Yeah.
we've hit our time limit, and all I can say about Brian Wilson, thank you for the music. May you rest in peace. You brought a lot of happiness to me and many people with your beautiful compositions. God bless you.